One thing I've learned in my work is that pastors are busy. It is hard work to shepherd a flock. What I would say to pastors is, don't worry, this is not a ministry you're going to need to be organizing and having lots of meetings and lining out a schedule. We take care of all of that for you. And that frees you up to truly pastor your flock, to pastor the team.
When we first began considering this, one of the things that attracted me was the way the role of the pastor was described as chaplain. My role is not to lead in the upfront sense. My role is to step back and watch the process of the team, make sure it's grounded in faith, grounded in love, and grounded in wisdom. Direct it when it begins to when egos begin to try to take over, and help us remain in that humble spirit place of service and of willingness to be changed. The other thing that drew me is the whole statement that the OPOP leadership told us, that this will be as transforming to the parish as it is to the prisoner.
Before the pandemic, pastors were overworked. They had too many things on their plates. It's been a tough 5 years as a people in the American church. A lot of people that I talk to who, once we get to that point of explaining what this whole invitation is, what the role of the pastor is, we say a lot like, don't worry. We're not adding to your plate. Your job as pastor is to be the pastor. We want you specifically to stay back a little bit, receive people, enjoy that pastoral, capital P, care role as this team will need. A lot of people are really excited about being the pastor to this incarcerated person, sure, but also 6, 7 people in your church who are committed to this long, intense journey together. They might not know each other that well, you might not know them that well, but you're doing this thing together, and your job as pastor is to be the pastor.
We equip a member of your team to be able to handle the organization and administrative tasks, and that frees you up as the pastor to provide the pastoral care and guidance that your flock requires. Over the course of the journey, wounds and insecurities, scars of past trauma within your own parish team might begin to emerge. And you as the pastor are now free to spend time with your team and provide the care and the guidance that they need that a sermon alone couldn't provide.
The pastor role is an interesting role. It's a little different than just being a regular team member. The first thing that it says under the pastoral role as your first job is to remind people of the commitments that they've made. I feel like, okay, that is something that I can do, and that has wound up being, I'd say, the most transformative in terms of discipleship is reminding each other of those commitments that we made, particularly our commitment to God. It is a discipleship opportunity because part of the language around that commitment to God is welcoming Christ's work in me over anything else that has to do with the program. We just don't function that way in churches. I'm going to welcome Christ's work in me before doing anything, fixing anything. We just skip over that so much. And so the fact that that is the commitment to God that we're making, and that it's not about this process, it's about our whole lives.
So when somebody doesn't seem to understand why we are doing this, their mindset is that somebody did what they did and they deserve to be in prison, and so let them be there. That's an opportunity, really, to help them understand that there is an element of God's grace here that is reflective in what we have received, and this is our opportunity to share that in a tangible way with somebody else. We get a chance to tell stories of the transformation that has happened in the lives of other people in the congregation. There was one woman in our group who went out to the beach, and there happened to be some tattooed Mexican guys who were there on the beach, and rather than walking the other direction, she decided to go engage, and they ended up having a wonderful time together. And that's something that was new for her that she wouldn't have done otherwise. The congregation grows, people grow in their spirit and in their hearts and in their ability to love outside of their normal boundaries. That happens through exposure to relationship, through reflection on those relationships.
I'm smiling really big right now because Pastor Dan, in his first visit at my house, I had told him, you know, at church, you're Pastor Dan. Out of the church, you're just Dan. You're just a regular person like me. And he had this incredible, huge smile. He goes, man, he said, I love that. He goes, that's good to hear. He showed up to my house that day, and I had my correctional officers show up apparently that day. He got to experience the UA and how I had to take it in front of the correctional officer. So I remember looking at Pastor Dan's face. He was like in shock, like, oh, this is really happening. I remember coming out, like, it's okay. I mean, I hate to say this, but it's the world that I'm used to. Pastor Dan got to share some thoughts with my CCO and tell him a little bit about himself to my CCO and who he was towards me, which went a long way, which was awesome. But I have a great relationship with Pastor Dan. I talk to him like a regular person here and there, maybe once a week or maybe twice a week, and we have great conversations. I have a great relationship with Dan.
Learning from our incarcerated sister, who's just an amazing human being. She's just brilliant and warm and vibrant and funny. She has had to learn in her life all sorts of letting go. And so we have learned from her in that. She has been a huge teacher to us all of what that looks like. There's something that's going on there, that the way that God is using this in the life of our broader church to help us not do different things, but be different people.
We need someone dedicated to this position of pastoral care. And what we mean by pastor doesn't mean on their business card it says pastor. Sometimes the pastor, the capital P pastor of the church, will be able to say, you're not a pastor, you're not on staff. You have pastoral qualities and abilities. We need you to fulfill this role on this team. And it's just, Nancy or Rob in the congregation, maybe they were a deacon before or something. And they say, I can do that, but I'm not a pastor, but I can do that. It turns out they are a pastor.